The starship Horizon glided silently through the cold emptiness of space. Its hull reflected the faint light of distant stars. Inside, the crew moved with quiet purpose, their faces lit by the soft glow of monitors and panels. They had been traveling for months, following a strange signal that had appeared on their sensors. The signal was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It pulsed with irregular patterns and frequencies that did not match any known technology. Every time the ship neared the source, the signal seemed to grow stronger, as if calling them closer. Ethan Clark, the ship's engineer, leaned over his console, adjusting the readings. He was tall and lean, with sharp blue eyes that seemed to notice everything. His dark hair fell slightly into his eyes, but he barely noticed. He was focused on the instruments, curious about the strange energy patterns that no one could explain. "This signal, it's like nothing we've ever encountered," he said quietly, almost to himself. "It doesn't seem hostile, but it's so precise, so deliberate." Across the control room, Lieutenant Grace Turner, the communications officer, frowned at the readings. She had worked on many deep space missions, but even she had never encountered anything like this. "Ethan, it's not just precise," she said. "It almost feels intelligent, like something is trying to speak." Ethan nodded, tapping the console with a finger. "That's exactly what I was thinking. Whatever it is, it's not random. It's sending a message, and we need to find out what it says." Captain Daniel Hayes entered the control room with a calm but commanding presence. He was in his early 40s, with a strong jaw and kind eyes. "We're approaching the source," he said. "Sensors show a structure orbiting the star ahead. It's old, and it doesn't match any known architecture." The crew exchanged nervous glances. The star ahead burned red and dim, a dying sun casting long shadows across the ship. The structure was enormous, floating silently in orbit. Its surface was dark and metallic, but strange patterns of light traced along its edges. It looked abandoned, yet somehow alive. Ethan's heart raced. He had faced dangerous situations before, but there was something about this place that felt different, something that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. "I want to go there," he said, his voice steady. "I want to see it up close." Captain Hayes studied him carefully. "It's dangerous, Ethan. We don't know what's inside, or if it's even safe to enter." "I understand the risks," Ethan replied. "But if anyone can figure this out, it's me. I want to go." After a long pause, the captain nodded. "Fine. Take a small team and investigate. But be careful. We don't know what's waiting for you inside." Ethan prepared his suit and gathered a small team. Among them were Riley Davis, the ship's biologist, and Aaron Mitchell, a security officer. They moved quickly, boarding the shuttle that would take them to the alien structure. As they approached, the massive doors of the station slowly opened, revealing dark corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Inside, the air was cold and still. The walls were smooth and metallic, but etched with strange symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. Ethan ran his gloved hand along the surface, feeling the energy that pulsed beneath it. "This place, it's alive in some way," he whispered. "It's like it's watching us." Riley shivered. "I don't like this. It feels too quiet, like we're not supposed to be here." Ethan nodded. "I know. But we need to keep going. The signal is stronger ahead. We have to find the source." As they moved deeper into the station, the corridors twisted and turned, confusing even their instruments. Sensors flickered, and maps shifted. Suddenly, a section of the floor collapsed under Aaron's feet, sending him sliding into the darkness below. Ethan lunged forward, grabbing his arm just in time to pull him back. "That was too close," Aaron said, breathing heavily. Ethan helped him to his feet. "Stay alert. This place is unstable. We have to move carefully." They continued, following the signal deeper into the station. The corridors became narrower and more intricate, as if designed to test anyone who entered. Then, in a large chamber filled with strange machinery and glowing panels, they saw her. Lyra stood at the center, tall and graceful, her silver skin shimmering under the light. Her eyes were large and almond-shaped, glowing faintly with a soft golden hue. She carried no weapon, but her presence was commanding, almost regal. Ethan froze, staring at her. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice melodic but firm. "Why are you here?" Ethan stepped forward slowly, keeping his hands visible. "I'm Ethan Clark. A human. We received a signal from this station and came to investigate. We mean no harm." Lyra studied him carefully. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Humans. I have heard of your kind, but I have never seen one before. You should be afraid. You should be running." Ethan shook his head calmly. "I'm not afraid." Her eyes widened, and she took a step back. You are not afraid? How can you not be afraid? This place is dangerous. It is forbidden. Most species would flee at the sight of me. And well, Ethan looked around the chamber, observing the alien machinery and the glowing symbols. "I don't feel fear because I don't see you as a threat. You are alone here. That is what I see." Lyra's breath caught in her throat. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She had spent centuries guarding the station, expecting any intruders to tremble or beg for mercy. But this human, he looked at her with something she did not understand, something soft and human. Why do you see me like that?" she asked, almost whispering. "Because I see the loneliness," Ethan replied. "Not the danger. I see someone who is waiting to be understood." Her golden eyes flickered, and for the first time in centuries, she felt something she had never known. Hesitation. Her hand, which had hovered instinctively toward a hidden weapon, slowly lowered. She had faced many creatures, many species, but none had ever looked at her the way Ethan did. You are different," she said finally. "All others would be terrified." Check team, you men. Check team, you men." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe humans are different. We face danger every day. We survive by not letting fear control us." Lyra studied him in silence, trying to understand how someone could be so calm in the face of the unknown. She had been trained to expect fear, to expect submission, but this human, he did not fit any pattern she knew. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, panels sparked, and machinery groaned as the station shifted. Ethan steadied himself. "The station is unstable. We need to move." Lyra nodded, realizing that the human was not just brave, but capable. She had watched countless species fail in this place, unable to adapt or understand its systems. But Ethan, he was different. He moved with purpose, touching controls and observing patterns. His mind worked quickly, analyzing the station in ways she had not expected. Together, they navigated the twisting corridors. Lyra led him through hidden passages, showing him mechanisms and pathways that had remained untouched for centuries. Ethan worked with her guidance, repairing systems and activating panels to stabilize parts of the station. Every time he succeeded, Lyra's respect for him grew. "I still don't understand," she admitted at one point. "How can you remain so calm? You should be terrified of me, of this place." Ethan looked at her, his eyes steady. "Fear is natural, yes, but fear does not control me. I face what comes, and I do what I must. That is what humans do. We survive, and we adapt." Lyra took a deep breath. No one had ever explained themselves like that. No one had ever made her question everything she had believed about other species. She realized that humans were not weak, as her records had suggested. They were different, strong in ways she had never imagined. For a long time, they moved in silence, navigating the station together. Lyra showed him ancient chambers filled with technology that hummed with energy. Ethan touched consoles, his fingers deftly adjusting systems and analyzing data. He worked with patience and skill, never letting fear enter his mind. At one point, Lyra stopped and looked at him. "You are remarkable," she said softly. "I have waited centuries, expecting intruders to panic, to flee. But you are calm. You are unafraid." Ethan smiled. "Maybe because I see more than danger. I see possibilities. I see hope. I see someone who is alone and waiting for someone to understand." Her breath caught again. His words were simple, but they cut through her defenses. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever made her feel human. As they reached the central chamber, the source of the strange signal pulsed before them. Its light shimmered, bathing the room in a soft glow. Lyra watched Ethan, her eyes wide. "Why aren't you afraid, human?" she asked again, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan stepped forward, touching the signal gently. "Because fear is nothing compared to understanding. I see you. I see this place. I see what you are. And I am not afraid." Lyra's heart raced. She had expected fear, submission, perhaps even defiance. But never this. Never calm, steady, compassionate bravery. She realized in that moment that humans were unlike anything she had ever known. And in that moment, she understood that the first step toward trust was already happening. The central chamber of the station was enormous, filled with softly glowing panels and strange machinery that hummed with energy. Ethan took a careful step forward, examining the patterns that rippled across the walls. Lyra stood beside him, watching him with cautious curiosity. She had spent centuries guarding this place, but she had never encountered a being like him. Someone so calm, so deliberate, and so unafraid. "You move differently from all others," she said finally. "Most species would panic in this chamber. Even your team would be trembling if they were here. Why do you not fear?" Ethan looked at her calmly. "I do not ignore fear. I feel it. But I do not let it control me. Fear can stop someone, or it can guide them. I choose to let it guide me, not stop me." Lyra tilted her head. She had studied countless species, but humans were always described as fragile, unpredictable, and easily broken. Yet this human, this Ethan, moved with purpose and confidence. He seemed to understand things she had never imagined. "And yet, you trust me," she said quietly. Ethan smiled faintly. "I do not trust blindly, but I see that you are not a threat to me. You are alone here, guarding this place. I respect that. That is different from fear." For a long moment, Lyra considered his words. She had always believed that species were defined by strength or weakness, by courage or fear. But humans were different. They did not rely on strength alone. They adapted, they thought, and they faced what came with courage. It unsettled her, and yet it drew her closer. The machinery around them began to hum louder, and panels flickered as if responding to their presence. Ethan studied them carefully. These systems are old, but they are still functional. Some of the circuits are damaged, and the power flow is unstable. If we do not stabilize it, this entire section could collapse. Lyra stepped closer. "You can fix it?" she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "I can try," Ethan replied. "But I will need your help. You know this station better than anyone." Lyra hesitated. No one had ever asked for her help. They had always demanded, threatened, or fled in fear. "But this human?" he asked with respect. "Very well," she said softly. "I will guide you. But move carefully. One wrong step could be fatal." Together, they worked to stabilize the chamber. Ethan directed his hands over the panels, pressing controls and adjusting energy flows. Lyra guided him through the ancient systems, explaining functions he had never seen. Despite the age of the machinery, Ethan quickly adapted, understanding the logic behind the design. He moved with quiet confidence, repairing circuits and redirecting power. As they worked, Lyra watched him closely. "You do not panic, even when the station shakes," she said. "Your species, you are strange. Most would be terrified by even the smallest warning." Ethan looked at her. "Fear is natural. But fear does not have to control you. Humans survive because we learn to act despite fear, not because we never feel it." Lyra's golden eyes softened. No one had ever explained themselves like this before. Most beings she encountered simply acted out of instinct or submission. Ethan's words had a clarity she had never known. She realized that humans were not fragile. They were strong in ways she could not yet fully understand. Suddenly, a loud rumble echoed through the chamber. Panels sparked, and the floor beneath them shifted slightly. Ethan steadied himself. "The station is unstable. The core is reacting to our presence. We need to move faster." Lyra nodded, leading him to a narrow passage hidden behind a sliding panel. "This way," she said. "It is safer. Though, not without risks. Only the guardians of this station know this route." As they moved through the hidden corridor, Ethan asked, "Why do you stay here? Why not leave?" Lyra's gaze drifted to the walls, etched with glowing symbols. "My people. They are gone. The empire that built this station fell centuries ago. I am the last guardian. My duty is to protect it, even if no one returns. Even if I am alone." Ethan listened quietly, his heart softening with understanding. "You have been alone for a long time," he said. "That must be hard." "It is," she admitted. "I have learned to endure. But I never imagined someone would enter and not fear me. Not only that, someone who respects my purpose instead of challenging it." Ethan's calm voice reassured her. "Humans understand that strength is not always about power. Sometimes it is about choosing to act with reason, even when the situation is dangerous." They continued moving deeper into the station. The corridors twisted and narrowed, the glowing symbols reflecting off the metallic walls. At times, the floor shifted under their feet, and machinery groaned as the station adjusted to their presence. Ethan remained steady, guiding himself by observation and logic. Lyra followed closely, impressed by his adaptability. Eventually, they reached a chamber that seemed to be the core of the station. It pulsed with strange energy, the source of the signal that had drawn the Horizon's crew. The light was blinding at first, then softened into a steady glow. Ethan studied the panels, tracing the flow of energy with his hands. "This is incredible," he whispered. "The technology, it's far beyond anything we know. But it is logical. I can work with this. We can stabilize it." Lyra watched him carefully. "No one has ever repaired this," she said. "Not in centuries. Many have tried. All failed. If you fail, the station could collapse entirely." Ethan's gaze met hers. "I understand. But failure is part of learning. We adapt. We try again. That is what humans do." Her breath caught. The way he spoke, so calm and determined, left her amazed. She had never met a being who faced danger with such confidence and patience. It made her question everything she thought she knew about humans. Ethan worked quickly, adjusting the circuits and rerouting energy. Lyra followed his instructions, guiding him through hidden panels and mechanisms. Together, they began to stabilize the core. The machinery hummed with renewed energy, and the light softened into a steady glow. "You are remarkable," Lyra said softly. "Your species, humans, they are different. Stronger than I imagined." Ethan smiled faintly. "We survive by facing what comes. Fear is part of life, but it does not control us. We do not run from it. We learn from it. We act." Lyra looked at him, her eyes wide. "And yet, you trust me. You do not see me as an enemy. Even though I could destroy you easily, I see you as someone guarding something important. Ethan replied. "I see that you are alone. That is why I do not fear you. I respect you, not because of your power, but because of your purpose." Her heart beat faster. No one had ever looked at her this way. No one had ever recognized her duty without questioning her or fearing her. Ethan's words left her breathless. She had expected fear, not understanding. She had expected panic, not respect. For a long time, they worked together in silence, repairing panels and stabilizing systems. Lyra showed him secret rooms filled with technology and devices that had not been touched in centuries. Ethan studied them carefully, making adjustments and activating panels. He moved with skill and confidence, adapting to each new challenge. As they completed the repairs, Lyra spoke again. "I do not understand your species. Humans are fragile. Yet you act with courage. You are calm when others would flee. You are brave in a way I cannot explain." Ethan smiled faintly. "Perhaps it is because we choose to be. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite fear. Humans survive because we face danger, not because we never feel it." Lyra's eyes softened. She had spent centuries expecting fear, expecting submission, expecting weakness. But this human, he was different. He was not only brave but wise, compassionate, and capable. She realized that humans were not fragile. They were strong in ways she had never imagined. Suddenly, the chamber shook violently. Sparks flew from the walls, and panels fell to the ground. Ethan steadied himself, guiding Lyra to a safer section. "The station is reacting to the repairs. We need to move to the outer corridor. It is more stable there." Lyra followed him quickly. "This human, he does not panic," she thought. "He does not hesitate. He is not afraid. How can he be like this?" Ethan glanced at her as they moved. "Because I see what matters," he said quietly. "I see you. I see this place. I see what we can do together. That is more important than fear." Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her with such clarity, such understanding. She realized that humans were not defined by fear, but by the choices they made. And in that moment, she began to see the truth of what Ethan had said. Courage was not about strength alone. It was about action, understanding, and trust. They reached the outer corridor, where the energy flows were steady and the panels hummed with life. Ethan looked back at Lyra. "We've done it," he said. "The station is stable, at least for now. But we need to return to the surface before the core becomes unpredictable again." Lyra nodded, her golden eyes softening. "You are unlike any being I have ever encountered. Humans, they are different. Stronger than I imagined, and yet kinder than I expected." Ethan smiled. "Kindness is part of survival too. We survive not only with strength but with understanding. We face danger, yes, but we also care. That is what makes us human." Lyra's breath caught again. She had spent centuries expecting fear, but she had never expected understanding. She had expected panic, but she had never expected compassion. Ethan Clarke, human, had shown her something she could not ignore, and in that moment, she realized that the first step toward trust was already beginning. The outer corridor of the station was narrow and dimly lit, but stable. Ethan and Lyra moved carefully, their footsteps echoing softly against the metallic walls. The strange hum of the machinery around them had settled into a steady rhythm, though Ethan knew it could change at any moment. "We need to reach the shuttle before the core becomes unstable again," Ethan said, his voice calm but urgent. "If the station collapses, we won't have time to save ourselves." Lyra nodded. "I will lead the way. The paths we took before are no longer safe. The energy flows are shifting, and some sections may collapse without warning." As they moved, the station trembled occasionally, sending loose panels rattling to the ground. Ethan stayed close to Lyra, following her guidance while keeping a careful eye on the structure. Every step required focus, and both of them were aware of the danger around them. "Your species is remarkable," Lyra said after a moment. "Even now, with the station shaking and failing, you do not panic." Most beings would be paralyzed with fear. Ethan shook his head. "Fear is natural. It tells you something is wrong. But humans do not let fear control us. We act despite it. We adapt. We find solutions. That is what keeps us alive." She studied him quietly, her golden eyes softening. "I have spent centuries expecting fear, expecting weakness, expecting failure. But you are calm. You are brave, in a way I cannot fully understand." Ethan glanced at her. "Bravery is not about being fearless. It is about choosing to act even when you are afraid. We humans survive because we face danger instead of running from it." Her heart raced. She had never thought about courage in this way. She had assumed that strength meant power, and fear meant weakness. But Ethan had shown her a new understanding. Courage could be quiet, patient, and steady. It was not about force. It was about choice. The corridor ahead narrowed sharply, forcing them to move single file. Suddenly, a section of the floor shuddered violently. Ethan reached out and grabbed Lyra's arm. Just as the floor beneath her began to crack, with a quick pull, he helped her back to safety. "You saved me," she said, breathless. "No one has ever done that before." No one cared enough to act instead of flee. Ethan smiled faintly. "It is what humans do. We survive not only with skill, but with care. We protect each other. That is part of being brave." Her golden eyes held his gaze, and for a moment, time seemed to pause. Lyra had never felt this way before. The centuries of solitude, of expectation and duty, had left her distant and cautious, but this human, this small, unassuming being, had touched something inside her she did not know existed. They continued down the corridor, moving quickly but carefully. The tremors grew more frequent, and panels fell around them. Sparks flew from exposed wires, casting fleeting shadows across the walls. Ethan moved with skill, guiding Lyra, and keeping a careful eye on the shifting energy flows. "Almost there," Lyra said, her voice tense. "The shuttle is just beyond the next chamber. But the route is unstable. We must act quickly." Ethan nodded. "Then let's move. We can do this." They entered the next chamber, which had been partially destroyed by earlier collapses. Debris littered the floor, and energy surges from the station's core crackled across exposed panels. Ethan moved deliberately, stepping over fallen metal and guiding Lyra past dangerous sections. Suddenly, a large panel fell from above, blocking their path. Lyra froze for a moment, unsure of how to proceed. Ethan acted quickly, using a metal rod from his tools to lift and secure the panel. He held it long enough for Lyra to slip past safely. "You are incredible," she said, her voice low. "I have faced dangers, fought many creatures, and seen countless beings fail. But you are different. You do not falter." Ethan smiled faintly. "We do not survive by faltering. We survive by acting, by finding solutions, and by staying calm. Fear is part of life, but it does not have to control us." They moved into the final corridor, leading to the shuttle bay. The tremors had grown more violent, and the station's walls groaned under the strain. Ethan adjusted panels and rerouted energy as they went, stabilizing weak sections enough to make their passage possible. At the end of the corridor, the shuttle awaited, its engines humming softly. Ethan and Lyra moved quickly, but as they approached, a massive tremor shook the floor. Lyra stumbled, and Ethan reached out, catching her in his arms. "You trust me?" he asked quietly. She looked into his steady blue eyes. "I do," she admitted. "I have never trusted anyone before. Not like this." "Then hold on," Ethan said, as he guided her safely to the shuttle. They reached the craft, and Ethan began activating the engines. Sparks flew from the station's walls, and cracks raced across the metallic floors. Lyra watched him, amazed at his skill and calmness. Every move he made was deliberate, measured, and full of confidence. The station shook violently as the shuttle doors sealed behind them. Ethan guided the craft away from the structure, dodging falling debris and unstable sections. Lyra gripped the console, her golden eyes wide with awe. You did it," she whispered. "You saved us both." Ethan smiled faintly. "We saved each other. I could not have done this without your guidance. Humans survive by working together, by trusting those who can help us." As the shuttle cleared the station, a massive explosion shook the orbiting structure. Debris and sparks flew into space, and the station collapsed into the dying star below. Ethan and Lyra watched silently, the light from the explosion reflecting in their eyes. "You are unlike anyone I have ever met," Lyra said softly. "Humans, they are stronger than I imagined, and yet kinder than I expected." Ethan nodded. "Courage is not just strength. It is action, understanding, and trust. We survive by facing what comes, and by helping each other. That is what makes us human." She looked at him, her breath catching. For centuries, she had expected fear, weakness, and failure. But Ethan Clarke had shown her something she could not ignore. Humans were brave, patient, compassionate, and capable of incredible things. She realized that trust and courage were not about power alone. They were about choice. The shuttle traveled silently through space, leaving the destroyed station behind. Lyra looked at Ethan, her eyes wide. "I do not know how to thank you," she said quietly. "You have shown me something I never imagined possible. Something I cannot forget." Ethan smiled. "You do not need to thank me. We face what comes, and we help each other. That is all. You are not alone anymore. You never will be." For the first time in centuries, Lyra felt hope. She had expected isolation, fear, and solitude. But this human had shown her that understanding and trust could exist, even in the cold emptiness of space. He had shown her that courage was not just the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. The shuttle approached the horizon, and Ethan guided it into the docking bay. The crew rushed to meet them, worried but relieved. Lyra stepped out, overwhelmed by the kindness and warmth she saw. She had expected suspicion, fear, and hostility. Instead, she found care and welcome. Captain Hayes greeted them with a relieved smile. "Ethan, you made it. And this is your companion?" Lyra nodded, her golden eyes meeting Ethan's. "I am Lyra," she said softly. "I have been alone for centuries, guarding the station. But thanks to this human, I see things differently now. I see courage, understanding, and trust." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder gently. "You are not alone anymore. Humans survive by facing fear together, by acting with care and understanding. That is how we live. And that is how we welcome those who were once alone." Lyra's breath caught again. She had faced countless dangers, but none had prepared her for the feeling she had now. Relief, trust, understanding, and a strange warmth she could not name. For the first time, she felt hope and a connection she had never thought possible. "You have shown me what humans truly are," she whispered. "Not fragile, not weak. Brave, patient, and capable of kindness, even in the darkest moments." Ethan smiled. "That is us. And now, you are part of that. You are no longer alone." The horizon left the dying star system behind, moving toward new adventures. Lyra looked out at the stars, her golden eyes reflecting the endless possibilities of the universe. She had expected fear and danger, but instead, she had found courage, trust, and understanding, and she knew that, for the first time in centuries, she was not afraid. Ethan sat beside her, calm and steady. "The universe is full of challenges. he said quietly. But humans face them, not with fear alone, but with courage, choice, and care. That is how we survive. That is how we thrive. Lyra nodded, her heart filled with a feeling she could not name. She had expected to guard and survive, to face solitude and fear, but Ethan Clarke had shown her a new way. A way of courage, understanding, and connection. She realized that trust was not weakness, but strength, and she knew that humans this human were truly remarkable. As the horizon sailed through the stars, Lyra looked at Ethan once more. "Why weren't you afraid?" she asked softly. Ethan smiled, his blue eyes calm and steady. "Because I see more than danger. I see hope. I see understanding. I see someone waiting to be trusted. And that is stronger than fear." Lyra's breath caught, and for the first time in centuries, she felt truly free.